We are a river city, a bold city, the First Coast, a place to create and to belong. Here, the sun shines a little brighter, and so do the people. We share a love for our region, a pride for Jacks, and a passion for the beautiful game, dedicated to giving everyone a sporting chance. Together, we will elevate soccer and sport in our community by lifting every voice. We are Sporting Club Jacksonville. We are Sporting Jacks.
Hello and welcome into the Sporting Jacks Report, along with Mauricio Ruiz. I'm Cole Peffer. Coming up, there are just 2 weekends left in the USL Championship season. We have a closer look at the teams vying for those final playoff spots. Plus, a look ahead to Tuesday's High School Soccer Media Day. But we start with the debut matches for Mauricio Pochettino as the head coach of the U.S. men's national team. A win and a loss. That's how Pochettino's first week on the sidelines went for the U.S. A high point against Panama, and then the low against the rivals Mexico. It's the start of a long process and the beginning of questions to be answered leading up to the World Cup in 2026. Pochettino's debut on Saturday night against Panama was a smashing success. Most of the familiar faces that we're used to seeing in the red, white, and blue. The U.S. beat Panama 2-0. Pochettino was the focus of the match against Mexico on Tuesday. However, no Christian Pulisic and several other key players, and the U.S. fell 2-0 to Mexico, the first Mexican win over the United States since 2019. After the match, Pochettino reflected on his start with the U.S.
Overall, I think Mexico was a little bit better than us and fully deserved the victory. But for us, it's a process that we started 10 days ago, and today was a great opportunity for our player to visit a very difficult place to play. And I think only we can improve from and learn from this experience. We need to be happy. I think this group of players that started the camp in Austin, that we play against Panama and now Mexico, for me, full credit to them, to compete because the circumstances were tough for us.
Well, there's some comments from the new U.S. men's national team coach. How about the other Mauricio Ruiz? What did you take away from the first 2 matches with Poch?
Yeah, I think you're going to have to curb expectations a little bit early in this process. He didn't have a lot of time to work with the players. He doesn't have the full bag of players that he's going to have at his disposal throughout his time. Players like Team Weah, not there. Balogun were not there. There's several players that he will count on that are still missing, and specifically in the Mexico game, which is, you can see Mexico at a full power versus the U.S., really not at all. I mean, almost a second team out there by testing purposes. So what you can see, though, on the field is a style change, a more dynamic and a more aggressive team. Certainly in the Panama game, lesser in the Mexico game, difficult place to play. Mexico did have their full squad. You can see Mexico has a little bit to prove to the U.S. I don't think they've beaten in over 9 games so far. So curb expectations. You can see progress, but it's too early to tell.
Just laying the foundation, and it is very early. There's no doubt about that. Well, one of the things we like to bring you on this show is what Sporting Jacks is doing into the community. Sometimes it's about growing the game of soccer or being a part of charitable efforts, and sometimes it's about supporting community events. And that was the case at Beach's Oktoberfest last weekend. Sporting Jacks was there at the Seawalk Pavilion as part of the biggest Oktoberfest in Jacks Beach. It's a great event for kids and adults that highlights the German tradition and gave us a chance to interact with fans and make some new ones of the event. It just keeps getting bigger and better each year, and it's a great way to represent the Jacksonville sports scene at events like these.
It's significant. We love our Jacksonville sports teams, and, the impact that they have in this community with the teams is tremendous. So having Jack Sporting here is tremendous. So coming up in 25, we've got the Jacksonville Food and Wine Fest, Jacksonville Taco and Tequila Fest, probably our favorite event. We have the 904 Open, a charity golf classic and party, Duval de Mayo, the Jacksonville Brunch Fest, and hopefully some new ones that will hit the horizon.
Great time out there. Well, it's time now for our Island Wing Company USL Championship Game of the Week, and this week it's a thriller between 2 teams fighting for a playoff spot as Hartford Athletic hosted North Carolina FC. To Connecticut we go. And over 5,500 on hand at Trinity Health Stadium for this one. They would see the home team get off to a fast start. 9th minute, Hartford. Marlon Hairston with a one-touch pass to Danny Barrera. And look at the finish. Left foot from outside the box. 1-0 Hartford. What a way to start the match. 33rd minute, and it's the same combination for Hartford. Watch this through ball by Hairston. Actually got it over the top, and Barrera runs onto it and then puts it away. First half brace for the veteran. It's 2-0 Hartford.
Yeah, and really surprising 2-0 at this point. It's a tough place to play, Cole. They're a good team. They just haven't got enough results, but a good start for Hartford at home.
Take another look. This was one that Barrera had to work for to control, but finished with good style. Early stages of the second half now. Hairston off the turnover. Gets to it, and watch him chip the keeper here. Looks like it's a goal for all intents and purposes, but it was not. It was called a no goal, and it remains 2-0. Later in the half, though, Hartford would get another one off a corner kick. This time Barrera assisting, and it's Beverly Makangila who puts it away. 3-0 Hartford.
Yeah, and a team in North Carolina that's really trying to push for that playoff spot, going on the road against a difficult Hartford team, a difficult place to play. 3-0, what a beautiful header. He just elevated that near post service. If he can beat that first defender and the ball can beat it as well, really difficult to defend.
Well, Hartford would get another to make it 4-0 before North Carolina scored a pair. So 4-2 into stoppage time when NCFC gets the corner, and Justin Malau has given us some drama. 4-3, and in the 92nd minute, will we get a stoppage time equalizer? North Carolina looking to come back from 4-0 down. Ja'Cory Hayes with a long ball to Rafa. But the shot is blocked by Renan Ribeiro. That save saves 3 points for Hartford. 4-3 the final as Hartford gets the win. Let's take a look at some of the other scores from around the league. A busy week that included some midweek games as well. So a bunch of games here. And we certainly have seen teams that are fighting for spots in the postseason maybe getting a little bit more defensive. You see a lot of zeros and ones up there on the scoreboard.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a big range of results at this point. Teams that don't want to lose because they want to capture those points, especially at home, and teams that just have to go for it. They're going to have to throw caution to the wind, and they're going to try to see. It's what you saw at Hartford and North Carolina, but then you get to the bottom right of the screen, Rhode Island and Loudoun United, they can't afford to not get points out of these games. So 0-0 game there.
All right, let's take a look at some of the standings as well. And brought to you by Gotsport. And you see in the West, there are 5 teams that have already clinched spots in the postseason, including New Mexico United on top. New Mexico United will have the #1 seed. But then you see Phoenix and Orange County and Oakland above the line. It's going to take some work for the likes of San Antonio to try to crawl back up. The West is almost set at this point.
It really is, and you're right. It's between Oakland, Orange County, and San Antonio. Who's going to get out of those 3 teams? Who's going to get that 8th spot? I got my money on San Antonio elapsing Oakland and Oakland dropping down a little bit. They're just not on a good run of play right now. And San Antonio, we know they have the championship caliber.
All right, let's take a look at the Eastern Conference standings. Lou City already wrapped things up, and we'll have the top overall seed in the postseason. Charleston and Detroit have already clinched spots, but you've got a bunch of other teams vying for positioning. We know that Indy 11 and Rhode Island almost certainly going to be in. Tampa probably almost certainly in as well. But you've got 4 teams right now hovering right there, 2 above and 2 below the line, all with 42 points.
Well, in this, if the West is a fight for 3 teams, the East is a fight for 5 or 6 teams fighting for that 1/8 spot. And that's why that Hartford Athletic game against North Carolina FC was so important for Hartford. They only got 31 games. They got a game in hand. If they can get the results that's in front of them, they're actually going to go from 11th place into playoff.
What a run it would be here at the end. All right, time now for Mauricio's Corner. And today, Mal, we're going to take a close look at a team battling for a playoff spot. That is the defending champions, Phoenix Rising. Last season, Phoenix finished strong. They had a lot of momentum heading into the postseason. How about this year?
Yeah, honestly, not too much different. They've gone through a coaching change from last year to this year. In the middle of the season, they've gone through another coaching change. But they're a team that have a bit of an identity. Their identity is to defend tight and get forward as fast as they can. It's how they won last year, surprisingly. Can they make a run this year again?
All right, let's take a closer look at how it all plays out, what you're seeing from the defending champs.
So you see them here in white, and they go from south to north as quickly as most of the teams because they kind of keep 3 players in the attack oftentimes, always that high player. So you're going to see a couple of videos here. It's always focusing on those high players ahead of the ball. We call them ahead of the line of the ball. That means that the defensive team always has to worry about it. And a bit of a jumble here. See a shot go through, the high player that always stays on the last line, gets a deflection, and gets them on the scoreboard nice and early.
And we saw this again through the playoffs last year where they went through and knocked off some of the top teams in the West.
Yeah, because you see how defensively organized they are. But once again, top left of the screen, the highest player for Phoenix, they don't really look to come back. See highlighted there once again, because once they turn over the ball in that tight defensive unit, can they get forward? You know, these plays don't often work out, but it makes the defensive team have to worry about it time and time and after again.
Well, you had tagged Phoenix last year in the playoffs as a team to watch, despite not finishing in the top three. This year, are you feeling the same way?
Not really. I don't think that they're as strong as they were last year from top to bottom. They've dealt with a lot of injuries. I don't think that team with tons of confidence just yet. But once again, high player, high up the field. What they do have is good quality players, not the same depth, but I don't think that they're on such of a hot streak as they were last year to really make that final playoff run into the championship.
Well, it's a team to be following for sure. Anytime the defending champ makes it into the postseason, it's something to watch. We'll see how Phoenix Rising can rise once the postseason does arrive in the USL Super League.
And you can see one time here again, the good defensive block. Once they win, Cole, they're not trying to kind of exchange tons of passes. They're trying to get vertical as quickly as they can and create these chances, catching the defensive team off guard and out of balance.
All right, a team to watch as the USL Championship postseason approaches. Here's another example. You talk about getting forward in a hurry, really trying to transition from defense to the attack.
Yeah, and that's really been the MO since Coach Juan Guerra last year. A team that just likes to get forward. They have good attacking players. They're susceptible defensive a little bit, which is why they've leaked a lot of goals. But when they do get in the attack, it's one of those games, they're going to win 4-3. But it's going to be a fun game, but they're losing more of those games than winning.
All right, the playoffs are just a couple of weeks away. Again, just 2 more match weekends until the regular season comes to a close. Hey, Sporting Jacks will also be out at the Seawalk Pavilion later this month for the next 904 pop-up. It's an event that has a Halloween theme this time around. Plenty of vendors and food trucks and a costume contest as well. Join us on October the 27th rather, at the Seawalk Pavilion for the next 904 pop-up. And remember, you can become a member of Sporting Jacks. It's absolutely free. Just go to sportingjacks.com to sign up. You'll get discounts on club merchandise, invitations to VIP events, entries into contests for prizes and experiences, and you'll receive the Sporting Jacks email newsletter. You can also put your deposit down for season tickets for the Sporting Jacks men's and women's teams and receive an exclusive Sporting Jacks founding member pin. Just go to sportingjacks.com to become a member. Coming up, we hear from Becky Burleigh and get her thoughts on Mauricio Pochettino's U.S. debut. That's next as the Sporting Jacks Report rolls on. The next national broadcast for the USL Championship will be the finals. November the 23rd, the game will be broadcast nationally on CBS. The teams, of course, to be determined as the playoffs approach. Time now for the USL Super League highlights. Between storms and bye weeks, only 2 games to bring you from last weekend. Start with Brooklyn hosting DC Power. This was a goalless game, first 97 minutes, and then this. Deep into stoppage time, DC with a corner. Looks like Brooklyn had the front post well defended, but it just caroms off a defender and into the net for an own goal. What a way to lose a game. 1-0, DC with 3 points on the road. Spokane Zephyr hosting Lexington SC. Lexington looking for the first win in club history. 18th minute, Madison Parsons sets up Shea Moyer. And at the time she gets it, just puts a shot on it, and it goes through the hands of the keeper. Lexington on the board first. Spokane would respond, 36th minute. Emma Jaskaniewicz. Watch this ball pinging around in front, finally puts it away, and the equalizer makes it 1-1 at halftime. Lexington would make a statement just after the break. 48th minute, Mary Kate McGuire would get on the end of this one and put it away. 2-1 Lexington. Zephyr would answer. Haley Thomas to Amina Ekic. It's 2-2. Still tied in the dying moments. 4 minutes into stoppage time. Madison Perez on the corner and Sydney Shepard, the header. What a way to win. What a game. What a goal. And what a first win in the USL Super League for Lexington SC. Let's take a look at the USL Super League standings. Carolina Stent still on top. Fort Lauderdale and Tampa were going to play this week, but of course with the hurricane, that got wiped out. And Mauricio, we're starting to see some of the teams get their footing after some slow starts. In particular, you now see Lexington with 5 points, DC Power, and watch out for Spokane despite the loss over the weekend.
Yeah, not a lot of games just yet. A lot of games ahead to play. Teams still have to go back and forth, home and away. But you start seeing Carolina Saints certainly at the top with Fort Lauderdale United. With Lexington and DC Power, they can get on the roll. They get 2, 3. All of a sudden, they'll start climbing up those rankings pretty quickly. All
right, let's welcome in Becky Burleigh. Becky, let's talk about the U.S. men's national team. Your reaction to what you saw in the first 2 games under Mauricio Pochettino?
Well, I think after Mexico, we can officially say the honeymoon is over. And that's in some ways, I think, a good thing, because there are certain levels of fans that I think, oh, new coach changes everything. And I think that's pretty unrealistic. I think everyone knows, including him, that there's a lot of work to be done. And I think this helps sort of recalibrate the expectations a little bit.
And because the loss came to Mexico, and certainly there's a lot of noise around one game, is it fair to make judgments based off of just those couple results?
Well, yeah, there's no doubt that whenever you're going to play Mexico, USA, especially in Mexico, you're going to have this type of rivalry situation. But what I trust is that he's looking at short-term gains versus long-term investments. And I think his player management, particularly with the people who got sent back to their clubs, could be a long-term investment when we, the fans, are looking at the short term and not necessarily the big picture.
Well, so if the results had been reversed and the U.S. had lost to Panama then beaten Mexico, do you think the feeling would be any different right now?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because I think the national team dynamic is so different. Like, if you're in a club setting, I would 100% agree. Like, I would love to see how they would respond. But when there's tons of time between now and the next opportunity, and the player pool shifts and changes, it's not really an accurate assessment of a response. If you're in the same camp and with the same guys, that's a little bit different. And I think the fan sentiment in this game wasn't just the 2-0 loss. It was sort of the lackluster way that it came about. And I think that's the part that is leaving fans with an unsatisfied feeling right now.
That's certainly going to be a topic heading all the way up to the 2026 World Cup. Becky, thank you. It is not too early to become a season ticket member of Sporting Jacks. Just go to sportingjacks.com to put down your deposits for the men's and women's teams. Just go to sportingjacks.com and save your seat for pro soccer in Jacksonville. Still to come, our youth soccer spotlight. We look ahead to the return of our high school soccer media day. That's next as the Sporting Jacks report rolls on. Sporting Jacks will be unveiling the official kit in the months to come, but already you can get your own Sporting Jacks official merchandise, from t-shirts and hats to sweatshirts or sweatshirts.
That works.
Also good. And the scarf. You can find Sporting Jacks official merchandise at sportingjacks.com, at our official team store on Phillips Highway, and at We Got Soccer. Time now for our youth soccer spotlight, brought to you by the Bearded Pig Barbecue. And today we're looking ahead to the second high school soccer media day, an event we launched last year at the Riverside YMCA. More than 40 teams were represented last season for the inaugural event. Really gave high school soccer teams a chance to speak with reporters and share their stories. They had professional photos taken and got to represent their teams. And this year, we're looking forward to the event being even bigger and better.
Being able to kind of share the world of soccer and just have us able to have some recognition that we don't normally get. And so, having that for future generations for soccer is just really important, and getting the message out there about soccer and getting more support for it.
I honestly think this event is amazing, because when I was their age, we didn't get to have this. And going to college and playing, this, I think, preps the kids for when they have to face like media day, and honestly just being able to talk to news reporters. And honestly, I think this is awesome in that it's preparing them, and it's also really cool for them to have this chance to be able to get their pictures done when they work so hard. So I wish we would have had this when I was younger, honestly, because it's really neat.
Well, I think this was a long time in coming, and it's just the beginning.
It really is, and we need to celebrate high school sports. It's a great here in Jacksonville, in the North Florida area, and generally, girls high school soccer is really, really good. We constantly see teams in the top 5, 10, really sometimes even in the country coming from this area. So we have to celebrate that. And this year we're adding a little caveat to it. We're bringing a wellness fair to it, which means we're going to bring in professional experts in the sports recovery, nutrition, physical therapy to speak to the athletes as well. So not only they get some media training exposure, but they also get some content and education out of it.
And we'll have a lot more about that coming up next week here on the show. Hey, be sure to join us every Tuesday night at 6 on 1010XL for the Sporting Jack Soccer Hour. It's on 1010 AM. You can also listen online or on demand at 1010XL.com. Still to come, we look ahead to the Premier League action this weekend. That's next as the Sporting Jacks Report rolls on. You can watch the Sporting Jacks Report every Saturday before the start of the Premier League broadcast on NBC 12. You can also find us on demand on First Coast News Plus and the Sporting Jacks YouTube channel. Well, the Premier League has returned to the pitch after the international break. Coming up after we're done here, it's Bournemouth hosting Arsenal. Now, Arsenal is battling for the top of the table. Bournemouth has been decent this year, 2 wins and 2 draws. They certainly need more consistency.
They really do, and these are the kind of games that Arsenal cannot afford to drop even a point on. If they want to continuously battle at the top, as you mentioned, with Liverpool and City, which they're kind of always seem to be just 1 point shy of it, they can't drop points like this early in the season.
Of course, Arsenal also playing in the Champions League, so a busy schedule for the Gunners here at this point. I do think, though, you and I both picked them to win the league this year. They've certainly done, I think, what we expected for the most part to open up the season. Yeah, and they're deeper. They're deeper than they were last year. They're one of the few teams compared to City and Liverpool. They've actually improved their roster quite a bit in some of their holes. City and Liverpool just look as good as they have before. Liverpool better start than even last year. But Arsenal continues to improve on their roster. So you should say that they should be good at the end with all the extra tournaments that they play. Also, of course, it's a big weekend. Anytime the Jaguars are over there to play, Fulham has a home match. We'll see how things play out there. We're just starting to get a flavor that this could be, yeah, you've got the same 3 at the top, but the next 4 or 5 teams could be interesting over the course of this Premier League season. Yeah, and Brian consistently is one of those 4 or 5 teams that's always pushing for it. Fulham wants to engage in that conversation. Then you got Newcastle and Tottenham. You have, Fleury, West Ham, Aston Villa last year. It's a pretty deep pack. Interesting how we're going to go in 10 games in the season. Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, you can follow us on social media. Stay up to date with everything that's going on with Sporting Jacks when we're not on the air. For Mauricio Ruiz, I'm Cole Pepper. Thanks for watching the Sporting Jacks Report.